Supposedly now millions are facing a 5% council tax rise from April as local authorities scramble to balance the books. But I've got some interesting info as to, yes, OK, sometimes what your money is spent on, but also how bad some councils are at actually balancing their books, which does beg the question why we give them more money and trust them with it. But there we go. The County Councils Network has found that 3/4 of councils in England who have social care responsibilities are planning a 5% tax hike, working out to an average of an increase of £100 to Band D properties. Council leaders have said they have little choice but to raise taxes. But with many already struggling, many ordinary people already struggling to make ends meet, is this the right time? And to get stuck into the finer points of all of this is Joe Ventre, who is Digital Campaign Manager for the Taxpayers Alliance. Joe, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. I am looking at absolute horror stories here, and this is in Berkshire Live, Get Reading. These news outlets, of course, they're saying that places like Slough, for example, which supposedly, anyway, Slough Borough Council to increase council tax by 9.99%, so 10%. I mean, I read with some interest that they've got a 760 million quid borrowing debt. And this is not by any means an incident that's located just around the Slough area. So many councils appear to have been so bad at managing our money for a very long period of time. Do they have a bit of cheek asking us to pay more now?
Well, that's exactly the case, Patrick, and thank you for having me on today. It really is concerning, and I remember when the Chancellor first announced back in November, I believe it was, that the threshold for council tax rises would be increasing to 5%. What we warned at the time is that you will have councils up and down the country will basically use this as a green light to carry on with wasteful spending. Of course, we know councils are currently under pressure, like we all are right now, from inflation and energy prices and all the rest of it. But I think what that move did was it just gave these councils the green light to pass those costs on and pass on the costs of wasteful spending onto taxpayers who are already overburdened, as we know.
Yeah, indeed. And councils, I mean, do they have much accountability? For example, it was Haringey Borough, wasn't it? They spent the best part of 150 grand renaming a road sign from Black Boy Lane to something else. I don't remember what they renamed it, but it didn't matter because someone crossed it out and rewrote the original name. In fact, the original name was kept on it at the bottom. Madness. But is there any accountability? Can anyone go, look, I'm sorry, but you are wasting my money here. I am skint. I can't pay.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of that, and we as individuals can certainly look at what our councils are spending our money on, and often, quite frankly, we're horrified. But, you would hope that central government would take a role here in protecting taxpayers. But I think their actions have actually indicated quite the opposite. You look at some of the real basket case councils like Croydon, Thurrock, Slough, as you mentioned there, where they've actually been allowed to go beyond even the 5% threshold. And you're looking at, 10%, 15% council tax rises in those areas. And, you're looking at a catalogue of catastrophic spending and management of finances over years and years. And, of course, it just seems now that they're almost being rewarded for failure in a way. The fact that they've managed their finances so badly means that they can raise higher taxes on residents. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, you wouldn't run a business like this. And this is what gets me. Politics, one of the big complaints about some, not all, by any stretch of the imagination, some people who go into politics is that they've never had a proper job in their lives. Local council areas as well. You wonder if they ran their own business like this, it would have gone bust a long time ago and they would have been sacked. And yet we end up in a situation where now they can come rattling the can and sticking their hand out and voting on big tax increases. Just quickly, in a final one, Joe, if we're looking at the national picture of tax and the local picture of tax, are people being taxed beyond their means? And fundamentally, is that a terrible thing for our economy?
It's an absolutely terrible thing for our economy, Patrick. It's one of the ways that we'll probably find ourselves in a recession soon. We're being taxed now to make a quick buck, to make a quick bit of revenue, and ultimately in the long term, we're all going to end up paying for it.